So today we've got Louis from Propr. You're the founder, right? You don't know if CEO, you want a different title or anything like that.
Yeah, founder and we're so early, so I'm like staff engineer, founder. I call myself the janitor, so doing a whole bunch of things at the company.
And how long you guys actually been doing this for? Because like from a couple posts I saw, like you guys have only been live like 8, 9 weeks or so, something
Yeah.
like that. Like not a very long time, right?
No, I think my first post was in December last year, where it was just like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. But then we started to develop really first of Feb, and then we went super fast into launching our beta in mid-April. And so we've only been live for like 10 weeks, give or take.
And like I guess like what actually prompted you guys to do this, right? What was your like background before and stuff?
Yeah, background is in risk in Credit Suisse as a quant, and so it's very suited to the type of business that prop firms are. And then I did a lot of crypto at Rothschild and Co. And then I delved deeper into crypto, like really, really deep into crypto, as in 24/7, 2021. And then since then, I just haven't left the space. Did so many things like on different protocols. Got really involved into perps too. Was on Hyperliquid in May 2023. Was trading on large centralized venues and did pretty well there. And my approach to prop trading is I'm not a prop trader. That's not my background. I'm a discretionary trader. But I was just looking at my strength in like personal strength in risk management and I guess my appetite for the perps space and just overall speculation in crypto. And then came to understand that this space has way too much inefficiencies and that crypto tech can actually make this business a lot more healthy and a lot more transparent and verifiable, which is what we are leaning towards at Proper.
And you guys are obviously pretty much fully built on Hyperliquid, but I think I saw you say somewhere else that you're also somewhat integrating Lighter and a couple other venues as well. Like, what's the current settlement looking like there?
Yeah, we so today we're mainly on Hyperliquid. We do the hedging on chain on both Hyperliquid and Lighter. And so progressively we'll add more venues. So we will be able to like Polymarket is going to be in beta this week. We will be on Solana spot assets and Base spot assets too. So it's basically to encompass the whole complex of crypto assets like real world assets, meme coins, perps, anything that's traded. We basically want to have this on our engine.
And in terms of, I guess for the people who are maybe like a little bit less familiar with, how a prop firm works and why should you trade with a prop firm? Do you want to just give like your own personal little intro for that?
Yeah, sure. I think it's overall the way it works is you buy an evaluation, which gives you access to capital. For example, an account that's worth let's say 100K, you're gonna buy the evaluation for depends on the firm, but like from $3 to $1,000. And then you have certain risk parameters to follow. So you have a profit targets to hit, and then you have max daily drawdowns, max total drawdowns. And if you follow those parameters, then you get access to the capital, and then you can trade with still those risk metrics. So it's I think it's suited to for traders that do not have a large portfolio and want to get access to a sort of leverage, but without having to crank up the leverage on the assets. With like $1,000, can I get access to 100,000? And I think to me, it's really suitable for people that trade on a risk first principle uh, because you have strict risk management rules. The people that pass evaluations are the ones that have, do not gamble away or like want to pass in one trade, but are consistent over time and have a strategy that works over and over.
Yeah, I was just like before this, before getting you on, I obviously did some research and was listening to some of your other interviews and stuff to get a bit of background. And the way that you positioned this as like, obviously this is a way to get like leverage, right? And
Yeah,
but the fact that also, let's say there was a 10-10 type event, and regardless of ADLs, slippage, if for whatever reason you don't have a fully limit based stop loss, whatever, like being able to use a proper count as a way to actually limit your downside is actually a very interesting thing. And it's like the amount that you're paying for the prop account is almost like the premium you pay on a call option, except that the call option is like your
yeah,
own trading ability, basically, right?
yeah. Exactly it. You know, you pay up front, and then just like you do on calls, and then the max you can risk is this, and that's why I'm saying it's great when you get started because teaches you to do proper risk management. And in worst case, you blow your account, but you know you're only losing the premium that you would have paid at the entry. And yeah, it's you know in crypto people have tendency of saying I take maximum amount of risks, and if you do not have like 0.5% or like 1% risk per trade, it's gonna be pretty hard for you to pass. But that's overall how I think good traders should think too. Like good traders think about how much you can lose as opposed to how much you can gain. And prop firms, they are very criticized, um, but I think it teaches you the basics of risk management, which is key to your success as a long term um, or like an inspiring trader.
And obviously, like in the traditional world where people think that prop firms can be like a bit scammy, there's a lot of B booking where, the underlying exchange that the prop firm and trader is trading on is basically taking the other side of all their trades. And given that on average, anywhere between like 85 to 90% of traders are losing money, then the exchange is basically like trying to profit off the other side on top of the premiums and stuff. Given that you guys are on these decentralized venues like Hyperliquid and other venues later on, how does the business model sort of like differ for you guys in some way?
Yeah. No, what we there is no prop firm that works on a booking fully. Concretely, what that means, and we can look at the stats here transparently, and that's what I enforce across the company is we are super transparent on everything, and you can see that on average traders lose, and since the beginning of Propr, our traders lost about 188K. So they've lost. And economically, as a firm, if you deploy on all flows on Hyperliquid, you'll be out of business. So what you want is to create a firm that works economically and is most importantly transparent. So for example, our A/B booking algorithm. So what determines um, how we book a trade is open source, so anyone can check it out. And that's how we enforce transparency. And then the A book flows are routed on chain on Hyperliquid or Lighter. The way it works most specifically, and then we can look at the algo. But we never A book someone fully. We A book flows, and that's super different. Concretely, if someone is super good at trading hype, we will deploy those flows. But if someone was good at hype and then is trading BTC or gold or even oil, that does not mean this trader has an edge. And what we want is basically deploy capital where there is um, like a clear edge, and
Hmm.
otherwise we will internalize part of those flows. So we don't view us. I mean, we don't view ourselves as a counterparty. It's more as a firm to operate and to grow sustainably. You need to be capital efficient, and overall we find that the traders are fine with it because they understand there is no A book firms that worked in the past, and there is also no B book firms that are sustainable. Um, and so, for example, on our transparency dashboard, you can see in real time how you can see our portfolio, and you can see how we hedge that portfolio in real time, which I think we're the first firm to show this.
And like I guess since Trade Domain came out with Breakout, there's obviously been more conversation around prop firms and there's a couple other guys on Hyperliquid as well. I know you're probably very focused on what you're doing, but what do you think about some of the other competitors that are out there, maybe specifically on Hyperliquid, and then maybe even stuff like Breakout? What do you think is good about them? What do you think is bad about them? What do you think they could do better?
No,
How do you fix some of the solutions?
I think the overall, like just all of the firms that are on Hyperliquid, I'm very much open to helping them, or like just I'm rooting for them because that's what we need for the prop firm industry to evolve. I think any firm that's transparent is a leap forward for the industry and at the end of the day for traders. So I would not see them as necessarily competitors. It's more so we need to grow the pie, and if we grow the pie successfully, we'll win. Um, Now, in terms of numbers, I think we are bigger than, like, actually an order of magnitude bigger than all of the other firms on Hyperliquid. Um, what we do different is not necessarily we're not the most on-chain firm. Hypernova, for example, is more on-chain. Like they publish more on-chain states. For us, we really value transparency on how we operate as a business. Because I think fundamentally you can be transparent, but if your business is not viable, then there is no like what you want is to show that the business works. So if you're
Mm.
running transparently and on chain, but you're running at a loss, even if you have things like payout reserves, your business will go to zero. It's only like a matter of time, unless you change the business drastically. And what we do different is really this on the operational side, we're like super transparent. And then the other aspect is that we don't view Propr as a front end. It's more back ends that anyone can plug themselves onto. We have about a third of our users that are API users and agents. And that's an expertise that we've developed. So the other firms you cannot, I don't think can trade programmatically there. Us, if you run like a Clobot instance or Cloud Code, you can tap into funded capital from us. And you'll have pretty exciting announcements in the next few days now with large apps integrating Propr within their existing terminal. So how the term I'm going to use online a lot is the propification. Just like you have purification of everyone integrating Hyperliquid, we want to be the same but for prop trading.
Yeah, and you said you compared to Hypernova being slightly more on chain. Um, you know, which parts of what you guys do, are and aren't on chain with regards to from the front end that you guys have and people placing trades on there up until, those trades being placed on your behalf as the, I guess, the kind of like risk holder, right, and stuff like that.
Yeah, what we do on chain today is so obviously on the front end we stream Hyperliquid's L2 books, like the other books, L2, L4 books. That's coming from Hyperliquid nodes, and we use Hydromancer for this. Um, and I'm not sure every like Hyperliquid firm does this. And then we do the hedging on chain, and that's like a big part, like execution of your BNA booking on chain. I think we're the only ones there doing it. Um, Obviously, we have payouts on chain in real time, payments on crypto, etc. But today, what is not on chain for us is for example, the account state is not on chain. Our rules are on chain on IPFS. You can argue whether that's on chain or not. But the big difference between Hypernova and us, for example, is that they persist the account state on chain and we do not. Um, I don't think they run the hedging on chain and we do. So there are differences. For me, my we've built Propr super fast. Like development time, I don't have the specifics on the other firms, but we went really fast. And in product development, you have to take, for example, if we go and we post the on-chain state the state of accounts on-chain, that's gonna reduce our development time, and that's not something that we want to compromise. So we have a roadmap through which will be a lot more, let's say, on-chain, and then at some point even trustless. But as a firm, that's not our priority. Like I can't state something we could put on chain quickly. It's just we know it's going to make us less agile, and that's a compromise that I cannot do at the moment.
And something I was thinking about is I haven't seen many big centralized exchanges offer really that many prop type offerings. Um, Even though obviously many of them could basically like hedge the flow on their own venues and do, I guess, some interesting stuff there. Like why do you think maybe some of the bigger centralized exchanges haven't tried to like tap into the prop model in crypto?
You have Kraken,
Obviously, Kraken
breakout
recently,
acquisition.
yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a regulatory concern on it's like for example, FTX and Alameda, they had market makers, and then you had the exchange. So it's how do you segregate specifically if you hedge on the venue? For example, Breakout is using OKX and is not using Kraken as much as weird it sounds. So you want clear segregation, and typically for us, we're talking today to the larger exchanges for them to integrate prop trading. And we see traction there. I'm not going to say we see insane traction, just we see appetite because you have that segregation between different entities. And that, especially we see with Mica, etc., is becoming a requirement for those firms. But I do
Yeah, that
think
makes
like
sense.
my thesis overall is that anyone like any trading firm or like any trading interface will have prop trading tied to their platform. Maybe in a different shape, maybe it's gonna be running differently than evaluations. But I do think, especially now with like the amount of data that you have and AI and stuff like this, that you can have access to, like you can develop an edge as a trader, and that if you want to scale in capital today, you cannot tap into pot shops. It's not accessible to you as a retail investor, and so I think we'll have the democratization. I mean, we'll democratize prop trading overall.
And obviously, you guys have like some points, and you've spoken quite a lot about being open around wanting to have a hyperliquid flywheel type token down the line. Dependent timeline wise on revenues and things going well to actually support something like that. Has there been any change or development in, I guess, your methodology there, or it's just like the same business plan as usual?
I think overall our priority is to grow the business, and then once the business is meaningful enough, then you have enough ammunition and flywheel power to launch a token that's sustainable. So we don't want to do it too early. We don't want to do it too late. So we'll have to find the right time. Business has been growing really nicely. We started to have days with 100K in revenue, daily revenue, and we operate at a pretty high margin. Like EBITDA is 65% net margin, so not with the cost of capital and stuff like this is like 80%. So we do think that there is room for a great flywheel, but we have to scale distribution first. We have to scale the number of integration so that Propr as a business is viable over time.
And what about on the B2B side at all? I think I saw you say somewhere about onboarding, I guess, maybe
Yeah,
more traditional prop firms into the crypto world and some other things like
yeah.
that. Is that a big part of the business or going to be a big part of the
Uh,
business?
we actually I've actually tweeted about this, and I said we're not going to B2B. We're not going the white label route. We're only going third party integration route, which I guess some might call it white label steer, but the relationship is very different because on one we run the risk, so we are responsible for the positions, the risk management, and for another we're only a tech provider and they run the risk, they scale the capital themselves. What we found out is if you operate a full white label model, it was too risky for us, and overall, we I figured that too many actors are completely reckless in terms of risk management, and I don't want to have Propr be tied to prop firms that go down or just go bankrupt or scam their users, which happens close to weekly on the prop firm industry. So we've decided that we will not work with prop firms as a full white label, purely from a risk perspective. And it's also now that Propr as a front end is doing well. We now have a pretty big opportunity cost, and we've done a lot of. I mean, personally, I've done a lot of B2B in the past, and B2B is slowing you down quite a bit, like doing custom integrations, and we really want to move fast. And today we do not have, just like the on-chain state, we do not have the luxury to slow down. Roadmap ahead is like insanely packed.
You've been, despite having a pretty packed roadmap and like building a complex project like this, you've been like doing these daily live streams for how many, like what, almost like 100 days or something? I don't know. It's quite a lot, right?
122 days, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. What's that been like? Because obviously from the most of the time is you just kind of like discussing the daily like progression with the product and stuff, right?
Yeah, I think when I started Proper, a lot of folks said it would not work out. And to me, momentum is everything. Is like you want to have, and you want to. Proper is bootstrapped. Like we've raised very small amount of capital. Hypernova and the others, I think, raised 3 million or something. And so although we are bigger than them by an order of magnitude, I still view myself as the underdog. And I was in the early days, I was trying to understand how can I commit and just do my best. And I found that doing daily streams, I'm not more like I'm definitely an introvert, but I was like, you know, let's do it. I got nothing to lose, and we have I don't have so many people tuning in, but I think now this week we'll cross 1 million in revenue, and I'm doing this 0 to 10 million. So I think people appreciate to see the journey, and it's also what prop firms need is more transparency, so people can talk to the founder in real time. Um, we discuss about the roadmap, and we also discuss transparently about what's going well, what's not going well. And I find that this is also building trust with users beyond what you see on chain.
Yeah, it's I get what you mean about the streaming and accountability, putting yourself out there because this is actually I've done now I think 25 or more interviews this year with a bunch of traders, project founders, and this is actually the first one I'm doing live after setting up the whole custom stream share and everything. And I just think it's like even if initially you don't have that viewer base, right? You're gonna eventually build it, and I think like putting yourself out there, the accountability, everything is actually
Yeah.
super powerful. So I think hats off to you for doing it.
Yeah. It's I definitely got so many things to learn. My streaming setups, I'm not putting so much work into it. You really have to view it as like a lunch break. I got I'm between meetings or between some code work, and I'm like, let's just crack this open and then discuss. And I I have so much to improve, but I'm very confident I'll be the first, I think, to do a 0 to 10 million revenue. And that I think is going to be exciting, and it's going to prove a lot of people wrong, and people will be able to trace the whole journey from essentially zero to like 10, 50, 100 million or wherever we are.
What was the what were some of the criticisms or hate that people were giving you when they were saying that this couldn't work? Because now that it looks like it's working, it seems so obvious, right?
Yeah, no, it's like prop firms as scams. Um, I think prop firms as scams is like we don't need another, like, because you have so much skepticism around prop firms. I think much of the criticism was inherited from this. Um, and we've had, for example, we tried and raise with the community super early on, and that actually did not work out the way we wanted. So instead of raising 1 million, like a 1.5 million, I think we've raised 300K, and a lot of people were flooding us like a hell lot on like, you guys are will rug. And I think we came at a time where you had this how's this called, this perp, that like this perp project I was doing it on Pokemon cards.
Oh, Trove.
Troll. Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. And so it was like people were calling me the next Troll founder. Um, and so we had a lot of backlash. If you can go back in time around Feb this year, and that was pre-product, and then since then, just things turn out really, really nicely. And obviously now we're raising a much bigger round, and things been yeah, it's been a really, really different conversation from day one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And given that you're building a prop platform firm on chain type thing, how has your own trading experience been in crypto?
It's been I've been a discretionary trader really like since 2023. Very active, as in managing a book every single day, and it's been I guess it's we've had ups and downs. Had crazy trades, had really bad trades on ETH or XPL, had insane trades on Hype, for example. But my experience been, I would say I mean, it's been definitely life changing in terms of money made. But I also look back at it as a very stressful period. Now I'm less active in terms of volume. I do much less volume than I used to do because I just have so much commitment um, outside of trading. And now I can realize just mental health. I'm doing so much better when you're trading big nationals. Then and losing or making a lot of money a day, then your mental health, I think, can take a hard like it can take a hit. And that definitely, I think, was a reason for me to go back to like building stuff because it's a lot more empowering, and is to some degree way less stressful as opposed to trading in crypto.
Yeah, and the risk profile is very different. I had the same. I used to run a meme exchange called Ox.fun, and it was like a very similar thing where I was like trying
Uh,
to balance my own trading on the side, and it's like you can only do so much while trading and building, but whenever you take a hit from trading, it's always a good idea to just like focus on building. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's a
especially
productive way to spend your time.
especially now, like if you trade now, you just get fucked. Like you get chopped so much. And overall in trading in crypto, there are only so many periods. Like you had April, May 2025, you had October, November 2024. And crypto is a really just a momentum asset. And when you don't have momentum, you basically shouldn't be trading anything. Um, or at least that's my style. I personally don't short crypto, so I'm only like long assets, and you only have specific windows as opposed to TradFi when it's up only all the time. Um, Crypto is only giving you great conditions, like probably 2 months a year. So you really have to be there and be locked in during those periods.
And anything you want to kind of like round off and direct people towards? Obviously, there's the $1 million trading competition. Anything else?
Yeah. Um, I think transparency dashboard is people should look into the business and how it's doing. I think not just the numbers, like numbers in absolute value are interesting, but I think relative value are interesting too. And that's, I think, how we build the most amount of trust is showing you that the business is sustainable and making money. But otherwise, we've just launched the first $1 million in evaluation, so not cash to be correct. Competition. We will be in beta in Poly Markets this week, and we'll probably have our biggest announcement that we've ever made next, like towards end of next week. We are prepping up the growth now, and so you have to join our Discord or X and make sure to be on the lookout for this. It's gonna be team did an insane job for that, and you'll understand why we work so hard, and hopefully it's gonna make sense to a lot of you.
And what does the polymarket stuff involve? Prop for polymarket?
Uh, yeah, we do prop on Polymarket. Yeah, will be there is another firm that's doing it, but as I said earlier, like anything that can be traded on chain, we want to be able to add funding capital. So wherever you have an edge, essentially, there are certain markets that will restrict like Pokemon cards or stuff like this that are illiquid. But anything that has an edge where you have some kind of liquidity, we should be able, as a prop firm, to provide funding capital.
How does the risk work on the poly market side, where you're kind of like,
Yeah,
you're obviously up until after the settlement or at the settlement, you're either losing everything or you're out before it.
yeah,
So
yeah. So the tricky thing with poly market is capital efficiency because you do not have access to leverage. So 100K deployed is 100K of notional that you have to deploy, and for that, then we just take a bigger hit on the cost of capital, but then you have lending facilities. Like we basically take loans to deploy more capital, and then otherwise we practice fairly similar risk management in the sense that you don't want to have too much delta in the market. So now World Cup, for example, you don't want to be skewed one way too much, and you want to yeah, just cover your delta as much as possible, and then we still apply the same A B booking. However, the hedge ratio, like basically we'll have to internalize more than half more than half of the trades because of liquidity constraints. Now, the interesting thing is you have prime brokers that come into the space, and there are certain events that you can hedge off the platform. For example, rate decisions. You can, if you know the, if you have the reading forecast, you can try and put positions that hedge certain markets, like the FOMC is one, but also the 5 minute, 15-minute BTC movements that you can hedge, and that's essentially what we are focusing into at the moment. But that's going to change. Like leverage is coming to prediction market, prime brokers are coming to prediction market, and you even have CFD brokers that are pricing risk in prediction market. So we'll basically the constraint we have is we'll have tighter rules to protect the firm's balance sheet. But as we have more hedging capabilities in the space, we will be able to have softer rules with like no consistency rules and stuff like this.
maybe just like one last real quick question. I saw a while back there were these guys on Solana that were trying to offer prop on, trading
Yeah,
spot on chain coins. What do you think about that? Is that something that can be actually done
yeah. I
sustainably?
think the only it's always about hedging capabilities. So how much of that market can be hedged, and so it's that plus how strict the rules are. And if you have little hedging capabilities, you need to have strong rules. For example, you need to have payout caps because what you want in the case of the meme coin stuff or spot assets, you don't want to have a day where if you have a high sigma day, let's say everything like every meme coin or like I don't know, NSAM makes a call and then you have 50% of your traders omega long an asset, a meme coin. You want to have profit cap so it does not impact your balance sheet too much. Um, and that's the whole engineering behind this. But to me, this has to be a middle ground between hedging capabilities and rule flexibility. And I think that was Solana founded, but they do have strict rules. Um, we'll actually come to that space later in the year. Um, our expertise is in hedging, so the ability to run good risk. Obviously, Solana meme coin is going to be pretty exotic, but it also comes down to what do you list. The main issue with those things is bundling and how do you make sure you don't have coins that have too much supply control so you're exploited as a firm. But these are pretty niche markets, um, and that's why we're taking quite some time to get there. But we're working with some firms, like some market makers, to try and understand what we can do there.
Hell yeah, awesome. I mean, that's pretty much all the questions from me. Unless there's anything else you want to cover. Are you French by chance?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Ah, je pensais que tu étais français aussi.
yeah, yeah. I'm currently in Geneva now. I live in Dubai,
Nice.
but yeah, spend quite a bit of time in Geneva, and otherwise was born and raised in France. Yeah.
There's some crazy cracked French crypto quants. I feel like whenever it comes, when it always on the finance side, whenever there's something about risk option stuff, it's like it's always the French.
Not sure. I'm not so French. That's you know, I spent. Yeah, I don't know French. Like the some are very smart, but like some French guys also have a very bad reputation. Um, I tend not to pay attention too much, and overall, just been spend more time out of France than in France. Um, but I do think we have great education in France. Also, that's although that's not where I've studied, but yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on, man. I'll let you hustle and keep growing your company.
All right. Yeah, thanks so much, man.
Awesome. See you, bro. Thank you.